Hey, brother.
Hey, brother.
It's a Wonderful Life. One of the best movies
Uh,
of all time. One of the best
yeah,
Christmas movies of all time.
yeah,
Um, uh, you had mentioned to me if there was a reboot of It's a Wonderful Life, would there be would it be modernized? Would it be a modern version? How would that
yeah,
change it?
yeah,
Do you want to try and reboot It's a Wonderful Life? Try and do a modern day?
yeah. I think we could try it. I feel like the closest thing that they did to maybe a reboot was The Family Man with Nick Cage. Taya Leone, I think, was the wife in it.
I have not seen that one, but
Okay,
I
that
think
might
yeah,
be that might be the closest thing they've done to a reboot of It's a Wonderful Life.
yeah.
Yeah. The tricky thing about it is you don't. Can you have the angel in it? Like, are there things that
Yes.
are just going to be too cheesy to reintroduce, or do you leave the
Um,
angel out?
I don't know. I don't think that there is really something that's too cheesy to leave out. I think
Yeah,
as long as you approach it with like dead seriousness, um, because you could say that about anything that's fictional.
yeah,
Um, and there are people who maybe have an opinion where like angels are strictly fictional, and then there are others that have the opinion that maybe they're not fictional. But orcs are definitely 100% fictional, and I don't go into Lord of the Rings thinking like, well, this is silly. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
I
I
know
think you
what you
can still
mean.
do it. I think you can still
Yeah, you could.
introduce an angel.
Yeah, and the angel would basically just be somebody who's there, kind of explaining what's going on a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. So they're
Um,
just the exposition.
yeah. What do you? Yeah. So it's like, yeah. I mean, I feel like there could be you could have it be set at the 2008 crash where a person like buys a house, loses their house, loses their job.
Yeah,
um
yeah,
they've got, like, you could have a similar thing where like they have a supportive spouse, but they were just about to go on like this trip, they were just about to do this thing, they never
yeah,
got to go to maybe like college like they wanted to
yeah,
because of some other obligation that came up. You can kind of go through their story and show, like, I mean, it could even be what's it called too. Good grief. You could even have it start like 2008 where they got slowed down, then they get things kind of going on a roll, and then 2020 hits and the world shuts down. And like,
yeah,
so they're getting like that
yeah,
double, they get that double hit where now it's
yeah,
like, now I haven't gone anywhere. I didn't
yeah,
get to go to college. I am in my own way successful. I do have this family and
yeah,
these kids, but I feel like there is those things in my life that I wanted to do before I got to
yeah.
this point that I
I
never
missed
got to
out.
do. And
Yeah.
now I got fired again because AI stole my job. you
Yeah.
know? Something like that, you know? And
Yeah.
my boss, Ted McGillicuddy's the biggest jerk in the world.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I think there's something. I definitely think there's something there where you could set it, because in the original, the bank, there's a run on the bank, which is something that used to
Yes.
happen,
Yeah.
where the banks would just close because people would get scared, take all their money out of the bank, and now the bank doesn't have any money, and you can't have a bank without any money.
Right.
So I
Right.
mean, this is like a legitimate thing that used to happen all the time.
Yeah.
So the original movie is playing off of that. I think you could have this new movie playing off of uh, the turmoil that people today have gone through, and
Yeah.
how it's affected
Yeah.
them and how it's made them feel, and sort of the isolation and the things you wanted to do that you couldn't do as a result. And now you
Yeah.
might feel a little bit like I can't really get ahead to the point where I can do those things I wanted to do. And
Yeah.
it is a little bit of like, I don't know if, like, how much you want to add in kind of like social media into it, the isolation that social media can cause people, where they're kind of spending their time on in that world rather than in the world that's like right in front of them.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
or if that just is like
Um,
clutters it too much.
yeah, that is difficult because it is just an added obstacle. It is an
Yeah.
added thing that would be kind of like
Hmm.
stressful.
Yeah.
Um, but also, yeah, it might kind of clutter it a little bit, and I'm not 100% certain what this guy's age is.
Yeah.
Like if he's going to be super active on social media, because if he got a house in 2008,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, then he's maybe a little older than you are. You
Well,
know,
he could be your age.
I mean, I was 18 in 2008.
Okay, so
I lost my job in
yeah.
2008
So
because of
he
the housing crash, but like if he got a
yes.
house or something,
Yes. Yeah. So he
like
could be yeah, then maybe he could be your age though. Where the 2008 because
just gets rid of
college
his job.
because maybe he couldn't go to college as a result of 2008 and his parents because what
Oh,
happens with George is his dad ends up dying, right? And that's why he can't go to college and he
yeah.
has to run the family
His
business.
dad has a stroke, I think.
So what happens to this guy maybe is that his parents end up losing something and then he has to step up and help them out. And
Yeah.
as a
Well, you know what
result, he
else
can't go to
works?
college. Yeah.
Um, that's kind of like fitting for the time period is
Yeah.
like he could go to Iraq. He could join
Oh, yeah.
the
Yeah.
army.
Yeah.
Because that's something like especially during that time period, like when people were losing their jobs, there were
Yeah.
people that were like, well, maybe I'll join the army.
Yeah.
Like just because like they need people over there and I need
Yeah.
a job, like I need
Yeah.
security. And that would also kind of that would play really well too with like I wish I was never born. And it's like, okay, but look at all these people that you saved. They're
Ah.
not saved anymore because
Yes.
you're never born.
Yes.
So
That's
he could
actually
be a veteran.
yes. I think that I actually like that idea. I think that's a good one. Yeah. Because
Yeah, the
you
time
really
period lends
could.
itself to that.
Yeah, you really could show the impact that he had on all these people's lives
Yeah,
as a result
yeah,
of it. Yeah. Wow. Gosh, you're always
yeah.
coming up with stuff that makes me emotional. I'm gonna end up looking like a big
Well,
baby on this thing.
I think
Um,
I think that definitely helps a film.
yeah,
My, it's the what is it? Emotional resonance and rocket launchers. You want
oh,
to be able
yeah,
to entertain and then also like make them feel something.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, I think that works really well, and it can show his impact,
hmm
uh, not just to the people that are like family or the people that he
yes,
knew or grew up with, but also like abroad, like allies in
yeah,
Iraq. Like if he was in touring in Iraq,
yeah,
um, yeah, like it could be actually pretty powerful. You could have some pretty crazy stuff in there.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, like it is kind of the experience that people my age or older had, is that like from a young age you're told, like this is what you do, this is the path, this is how
yeah,
you make money, and then like you get married at 23 or whatever,
yeah,
and you have a kid when you're 25, and then like you get a job and then the housing market crashed and a bunch of people were losing their jobs, um, and like by the time I got married or even like before then, people needed two income households. Like you needed both people working, and you needed to save up for a long time before you were able to get a house. And I saved up for years to get an engagement ring, and to like pay for the wedding. And we got married a few months before COVID. So
oh,
like the
yeah,
money that I'd saved up for years to pay for the wedding, like right after that, COVID hit and I lost my job. And I
yeah,
was like, I don't have any money left. Like we just spent it all we just spent it all on the wedding and we couldn't
yeah,
afford to go on a honeymoon. So we were stuck. Like we didn't go on a honeymoon for 2
yeah.
years.
So your
Um,
story is the It's a Wonderful Life story.
yeah,
Yeah, we
I
could
mean,
just,
yeah,
but we would modify it, of course.
we don't want people to be that sad.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, well, I think, I
we'll put
think,
some
I
humor in
mean,
there.
my thing too is like, I think, like if you watch a lot of old television shows,
Yeah,
everyone in the show is in show business. They're like an actor, a writer, you know what I mean? Like Ricky Ricardo was in show business.
yeah,
And like
yeah,
it's that type of thing, like a lot of the older shows like have that, Mary Tyler
yeah,
Moore show, she's in the newsroom.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
anyway, because if you're a writer and that's all then you're going to be writing about the stuff
yeah.
but I think that's a bad idea to a certain degree. I think you should do that if what you're writing is like interesting and unique and there's a market for it. But at the same time, I do
Yeah,
think like you shouldn't write so much yourself because then you only have one
right.
story to tell
Yeah,
because it's just
yeah,
you. And like you got to get used to actually writing something different.
yeah. I think that there is a fine line when you write something that's just for you, then it's not really for the audience, and that's not. I think that that's a mistake that a lot of filmmakers or a lot of writers make,
Yeah.
um, and then you can go too far the other way, where it's like you're trying so hard to be relatable and to include everybody that it's not really about anything or about anybody.
Yeah.
Um, so the trick is to find this middle ground where like it's not about me and it's not about everybody.
Yeah.
Like we don't want people to watch the film and feel like this is relatable. We want people to watch the film and feel like this is personal.
Yeah.
um, so to a degree you write your experience in the sense that like you're trying to write how you have been affected emotionally by personal experiences and then apply it to a different story,
Yeah.
because like everybody's had that let down. Everybody's had that like trying to achieve something and then the rug gets pulled out from under you. Um, so when it happens to somebody in a very specific way, then it starts feeling very personal to the audience, and that's kind of what you're shooting for.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a balancing act.
Yeah. Hmm. But yeah, so It's a Wonderful Life. I think it did.
Yeah,
I think there is a story there to tell that's relatable. That's goes through this time period that people have been through and
yeah,
the struggles that they've had and how they feel about it. And
yeah,
just that feeling of I didn't get to do the things I wanted to do because I made sacrifices. And I'm
yeah.
not really where I want to be in my life
Right.
because of those sacrifices. And then sort of recognizing like, no, look, there is, you're
There's still
only looking
value.
at the things you don't have and you're not looking at all these great things that you do have.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
yeah, so I do think there definitely is a story there.
it might even be a story that people need right now, because if there are enough people out there who have had an experience similar to mine,
Yeah.
because like I was a career man in two different careers and worked my way up to the top of both careers and had both of them like kind of pulled out from under me, um, and lost everything, like twice. Not to say that I even had like a ton. But when you're working towards something for 7 years, um, it feels like a lot. Uh, but I mean, I never made it to six figures. I mean, I never, made that much. But it does feel like, man, like I've been working at this for 7 years and now it's gone. And then you start over, and it's like, well, now I'm working here, and like I got back to where I was before, and then COVID hit, and now it's gone.
Yeah.
And now I'm working at a place where I have like 11 years experience, and I'm working for somebody who has 2 years experience, and I'm not being rewarded for my resume, or like it feels like I've paid
Yeah.
my dues. So like, what exactly did I do all that for? Like,
Yeah.
where is the progression? Where is the like? I'm more valuable than I'm being compensated for.
Yeah.
So like, what's the point? You know, like it's very easy to feel that way. So I think that like people who have had a similar experience um, to me, or
Yeah.
just grew up through those time periods where like these things happened. Um, yeah, like it might be beneficial to tell a story where it's like this happened to a lot of people,
Yeah.
and there is still value. There is still something that like you bring to the table, and just
Yeah.
just look around and maybe appreciate it a little more.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely like a complainer by nature. I mean, I think most people are, where we
Sure.
notice
Yeah.
negative things very strongly. But I make a point of
Yeah.
being grateful for as long as I'm complaining. So I'm like, it's okay that I complain. I can't help it. But I'm like, but you
Yeah.
also now have to spend like a minute being grateful for all this good stuff as well, because you just spent like a minute complaining,
Yeah.
and doing that, I think, kind of limits how much complaining you end up doing because you don't want to spend an hour being grateful. So you better not spend an hour complaining, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like a swear jar, your own personal
That's
swear jar,
interesting.
but you're doing something positive, I think, with it, where you're like, but yeah, I think, but it's kind of like that samurai philosophy where it's like you got to spend as much time in warfare as you do in poetry. So it's like
Hmm.
you're like you have to have some form of balance to what it is that you're doing, and it's really it's easy to get lost in the I don't know in just the difficulties that life presents because
Yeah.
life is difficult. It's like
Yeah.
it's difficult for everybody, and
Yeah.
um, perspective is the thing that makes it so difficult because if you actually had real difficulties then you wouldn't find um, the kind of petty difficulties. Unfortunately, there's no really good way of saying this. You wouldn't
Yeah.
find the petty
Yeah.
difficulties, kind of like what George goes through in It's a Wonderful Life are kind of petty difficulties
Yeah.
where where it is they are difficulties, but it's like but you're not starving to death.
Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
you're not digging your family out of a building that collapsed because of an earthquake.
Yeah.
Those are difficulties. I mean, those are
Yeah.
those are
What you're
hardships.
dealing with are annoyances.
Yes, it's annoying that you can't go, on your honeymoon. It's annoying.
Yeah.
But it's you don't. But when you don't have that perspective of, you know, of you haven't gone 10 days without eating a proper meal,
Yeah.
that's the hardest thing you've gone through in life.
Yeah.
Then that's just it. The hardest thing you go through in life is the hardest thing you've gone through in life. And
Yeah.
it is that's what the end of the world is. It's why like teenagers are always saying it's going to be the end of the world if they don't go to like their friend's house,
Yeah.
and their
Yeah.
parents know better. Where they're like, it's not,
Right.
it's stupid. You're not
Yeah.
even going to remember it 2 years from now.
Yeah. It's
But
a funny kind of juxtaposition because it's like the belief or the feeling that you have
yes,
as a teenager
yes,
is like they don't understand how important this is,
yes,
and then like the understanding that you have as an adult is like, kid, this is nothing
yeah,
compared to what you're gonna go through.
yes.
Like,
And
you think this is a big deal
yes,
now because you haven't seen it yet.
the weird thing is when you do go through something that is actual like life and death difficult, it
Yeah.
doesn't even feel as hard as that time you missed the party or the friend's house
Yeah.
when you're a teenager because you have to deal with it as an adult
Yeah.
dealing with something. And it's like
Yeah.
it is a weird thing though where it's like you have to deal with it and you have to
Yeah.
deal with the fallout from it. And
Yeah.
So it is, yeah. But I think that's why it's cool that you came up with the idea of having this guy be a veteran, because it's something that you can't. It's a fallout you can't always deal with, and most people can't.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
something that's dealing with something like that is bigger than who a person is.
yeah, yeah. I think that it's kind of a good because, like you said, in It's a Wonderful Life, like what he's dealing with is more or less annoyances. But like the housing market crash, COVID,
Yes. Yes.
like these were large scale things that affected people for years.
Yes.
Um, and so it's like having him be a vet is kind of the other side of the coin, where it's like these things they're huge deals. If they're still annoyances, they're like really really big annoyances,
Yes.
and they're quantifiable. But the good that he brought to the world is not quantifiable. Like it's priceless, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So it's like having him be like that effective. Um, I think is kind of a good way to go.
Yeah. Is it is it not good having them be cuz is it how do I even ask this?
How do you ask
Is
it?
there
How do
is
you ask
there
what?
is there a problem with having this new character have actual problems to the story?
Um,
Cuz in It's a Wonderful Life, all of his problems are, you know, the last one's pretty
uh,
big though, with
with
the
with the
money going
exception of
missing, cuz
the
that's
money's
like
a big
everyone's
deal.
money.
Yeah, yeah, the money's a big deal, and then the money comes back
Yeah.
at the end,
Yeah.
kind of. Um, so I think yeah, like it's okay for this guy to have actual problems,
Yeah.
as long as like I guess you know what we haven't even brought this up really.
Okay.
It's a Wonderful Life is a Christmas movie.
Yes.
This new movie, is it a Christmas movie?
Yeah. I think it is a Christmas
Okay.
movie. Hmm.
So then would it be about like that goodwill towards man where it's like yes, he does have actual problems
Hmm.
and the way that those problems get solved, much like in It's a Wonderful Life, the
Yeah.
original, is that goodwill towards man, that community of people that he's been there for, kind of
Yeah.
like coming in and being like,
I think
let's solve the problem or let's get through it together.
yeah. I think I think the central conflict for him,
Yeah.
at least that's been hanging over his head, is that maybe him and his one of his friends, they get
Mm-hmm.
captured as prisoners of war.
Okay.
Okay? And he's set free. And he
Hmm.
doesn't know what happened to his friend.
Okay. Yeah.
He doesn't find out. And maybe we can find out, like, at the end. Like, his friend actually shows up at his place to help him out.
Huh.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? So maybe he
Yeah.
does something. He does something to get himself released. But he doesn't know what
Yeah.
happens to his friend. And his friend is telling him, like, no, what you did is the reason why I was released as well.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? But he doesn't know this. So he's carrying this guilt with him
Yeah.
that pays off where it's like, no, actually, you know. So it could just be a situation where he doesn't maybe even know. He doesn't know the guy's name or who the guy was.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think of that?
I think that there's something there.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that is a route you could go down. Because I think it could also kind of play into the whole like, I wish I was never born, and it's like,
Yeah.
maybe he blames himself for them getting captured in the first place,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then they like go out and it's like no, like he dies in action,
Yeah.
like if you weren't there, then he wouldn't have gotten captured, he would have gotten killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know, like maybe it needs to be a bigger impact than that, where it's like he's at home. So it's like your friend that got captured, like if you weren't there, he was at home and he got killed and his family got killed.
Oh, yeah,
So it's like you're there and like and for that like you spared their lives. And
yeah,
then at the end, like you can discover that it's like no, like he survived too.
yeah,
Um, like something that he did, something that happened. It's a detail. We can get through details
yeah, yeah,
later. But yeah, but yeah, something that he did allowed him his escape at some point as well.
yeah. And then the bell rings, and every time, every time the bell
Yeah,
rings, we have the worst child
the
actor
worst child actor in
in the
history.
world. Yeah, saying the line.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what we need at the end
yeah.
of the
Jimmy
movie.
Stewart's like, oh, could you say that again, but don't scream it into my ear this time. Jimmy Stewart was great, great actor. Um, I'm gonna move on.
Okay.
Uh, uh, Die Hard. Okay. We've talked about this before about Die Hard not really being a Christmas movie,
Yeah.
but having Christmas in it
Hmm.
kind of elevated it, kind of made it a better movie. Um, and we were kind of talking about like a non-Christmas Christmas movie. Like, is there a movie? Is there a premise? Is there an idea
Yeah.
that you think would be elevated by making it happen during Christmas time? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would
I
have to be a premise that's not Christmas related, but it would.
yes.
But does Christmas elevate it?
I think. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is My Cousin Vinny. If My Cousin Vinny was
Oh,
set during Christmas, there's now a
yeah,
whole nother level of irritation on the judge's part that he has to be doing this during Christmas, on the jury's part, on
yeah,
the prosecuting attorney, and
yeah.
even on the two defendants, on Ralph
The two
Macchio and his
Utes.
friend. Yeah, the two Utes, the two defendants.
Yeah,
Both of them would be like, like struggling with that too, because like I gotta get home for Christmas.
yeah.
So
That
it's
could even
like,
be where they were headed.
yes, they could even be
Like,
headed home for Christmas, and they end up
yeah,
getting arrested. So I think you could do a kind of like a My Cousin Vinny courtroom, even like a Few Good Men style, where it's more of a drama as
yeah.
well. And there's a
Like a
there's a
courtroom
Christmas
drama.
tree. There's a Christmas tree in the corner of the
Yeah,
courtroom, and it's just like,
that's
and
interesting.
there's just that irritation of, like you have to be there during Christmas. It's one of those
Yeah,
like we had trash day one day on Christmas, and
yeah,
they have to pick up the trash.
yeah,
And I gotta
yeah,
tell you, it was the worst job I've ever seen. Like, you look down the street and there's just trash. Like the guy was going as fast as he could, and he was just
yeah,
doing a terrible job getting those
yeah,
trash cans.
yeah.
Like,
He's just
get
trying to get
me.
home.
He's trying to get home for his kids. He's like got to
Yeah,
spend Christmas
yeah.
picking up everybody's trash in his trash truck, and he just was like, he just was not getting it done. But yeah, that's it. It's just, I think you can set. I feel like you could set a lot of things during Christmas that where you don't even have to mention Christmas necessarily all that much, other
Yeah,
than just in the obvious places, and everyone just feels that tension and feeling of, oh my gosh, I would hate to be there during
yeah,
Christmas.
yeah. Um, Man, that's funny. Yeah, the courtroom drama is actually a really good genre. Um,
Yeah,
to make it happen during Christmas. And funny enough, this movie, The Terrible Killers,
yeah,
when I originally wrote it, the first draft was it took place during Christmas, and that's why like everybody was getting together in the movie was his friends getting together for Christmas, and it was just like a Christmas event, and there was
yeah,
going to be like decorations everywhere, um, and we had the freeze in Austin,
hmm
and it froze like So Austin vegetation is not prepared for frozen weather.
Yeah.
So there was precipitation that landed in the trees, and then it froze, and all the trees were way too heavy to hold their own weight. So a bunch of trees started falling like everywhere, and it
Yeah.
like brought down wires, and like the internet went down for people, and electricity went out for a bunch of people, and like we had trees falling all over like our front yard and our backyard.
Yeah.
It was terrifying because like we were asleep and we'd hear a tree start falling, and we
Yeah.
were just like waiting to hear if it was going to land on like our car or like come through our window or
Yeah.
something. And it was all night that like we didn't get any sleep that night. um, so the freeze happened and we postponed shooting for
Yeah.
like months. So I rewrote it so it wasn't a Christmas movie anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I did think that it would just kind of like add to the tension of like the terrible
Yes.
killers if, you know,
Yeah.
took place during Christmas.
Yeah. It's not. I mean, yeah, it is. It does add to it. It is one of those, like, there's a reason why a lot of scenes in movies have it's raining,
Yeah.
because it's just an added thing to make it gloomier and darker, and you know,
Atmosphere.
yeah. It's why I
Yeah.
love that scene in The Notebook. It's such a oh my gosh. But there's a scene in The Notebook. It's done so well. There's a scene in The Notebook
Yeah.
where he's rowing the boat, and they've broken
Okay.
up at this point, and she's got a fiance with some other dude, and they're looking at, like, I don't know, the ducks or the geese or whatever, who knows, the swans,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Then he's rowing back, and he's looking up at the sky, and he's like, oh man, because now
Yeah.
it's gonna start raining, and it starts
Yeah.
raining. So it's like, now it's like it's this perfect storm of, you lost the girl, she's sitting right in front of you, she's betrothed to somebody else, and
Yeah.
now it's raining on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, this is the worst day of your life.
Yeah.
And then she starts laughing,
Yeah.
and then he starts laughing, and
Yeah.
it shows, like, no, this is the worst day of their lives, or it should be, but they're having
Yeah.
the best time in the world together.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, they're like, you put them in this horrible situation, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're gonna find a way of, anyway, whatever. That was a tangent.
No, yeah. Yeah. It was a good
But-
tangent.
Yeah. The other Nicholas Sparks movie I want to talk about.
Yeah. Charlie Rose.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't watch
Safe Haven. What? I think that is one. Dear John.
I don't know.
I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure these are.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure these are them.
These are all accurate. Yeah.
Yes. What were we talking about?
I don't know.
Courtroom
Something
drama
about
Christmas.
Christmas.
So courtroom
No.
drama Christmas. The question is, do you
Yeah.
do comedy like My Cousin Vinny, or do you do drama like A Few Good Men?
That's a good question. I feel like if it's a drama, I wouldn't address the fact that it's Christmas, like you said.
Yeah.
Because then it's just like atmosphere.
Mhm.
If it's comedy, then I think that's all you talk about.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, oh, and it's Christmas too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, like I do think that. Yeah, it depends on the genre, like whether or not you even shine a light on it. But this brings up an interesting point: is like when you put someone in a tense situation.
Yeah.
The fact that it happens during Christmas sometimes just kind of elevates that. Does it work for like any drama or any like tense situation? Or like it is just kind of added by that atmosphere.
There's gonna be. I mean, I think what you have to think of is like a movie situation where it's a distraction and now it takes away from the movie.
Okay.
So,
An
Yeah.
Easter movie. It's definitely gonna take away from
it's
it.
gonna This movie takes place.
Independence Day, totally ruined by all the Christmas decorations.
Yeah. Didn't we make Independence Day a Christmas movie?
We did make Independence Day a Christmas movie.
I'm trying to think of a movie. I feel like Four Christmases actually doesn't need to be a Christmas movie.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Um, I guess so, but then you'd have to come up with a reason for why
Why
they have
they're
to see all four of
yeah,
them in a
why
single
they're
day.
visiting everybody. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, it's some of them. I mean, there's definitely movies that like it makes sense. The Christmas thing just heightens it. Home Alone is a Christmas movie,
Yeah.
and it just heightens
Yeah.
it, and it makes sense that these guys are burglarizing houses during Christmas with all
Yeah.
the presents that they can, the bonus of having presents there and people going out of town.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, there's gotta be a movie that being set during Christmas would just ruin, kind of, take away from it. I Come in Peace was set during Christmas, and you don't really realize that it's set during Christmas with Dolph Lundgren. Remember that movie?
Oh.
I Come in Peace with Dolph Lundgren. It's set during Christmas, and it's almost a distraction a little bit that it's set during Christmas.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not. There's not
Wow.
really like a benefit to the fact that it's set during Christmas.
That was a deep pull. Like I've
Yeah, well,
I've
that's what I
seen
do.
that movie
That's
a
what I do.
long time ago.
Point Break. If Point Break was set during Christmas, that would ruin the movie because it's supposed
Yeah.
to feel more summer or something, right?
Any Golan Globus classic
The yeah,
Bloodsport totally ruined by all
yeah,
the stockings and the
yeah.
Santa hats.
Bloodsport would not work
Cyborg,
during Christmas. But yeah, I do think.
Delta
But yeah,
Force.
I think the courtroom drama is a good one. I don't
Yeah.
know if the genre necessarily matters too much, other than just the style in which you would approach it is very different. You could, in
Yeah.
both situations, have a guy get on the stand who's dressed in full Santa Claus gear,
Yes.
and have somebody be like, "I'm sorry, like,
Yeah.
and like I'm
Like
going to work afterwards."
so.
And
Yeah. No, I was
like,
gonna say.
okay,
It's like so. What do you do for a living?
yeah, yeah, and everyone,
Like,
I mean, both either a drama or a comedy, you could have that situation, and yeah, and it would be funny in
yeah.
both, and it would make sense in both.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then, but yeah, I think, I mean, A Few Good Men is a really good. It's such a good movie.
It is a really good movie.
I mean, and nothing happens in it. They're just talking the whole time.
It's all dialogue.
Yeah.
It's funny because like what they teach in any like writing class is like
Yeah.
show don't tell.
Yes.
And I have a theory
Okay.
that they say this because the majority of writers
Yes.
are not going to be good at dialogue. So it's like if you
Yeah.
want to write a good script, avoid dialogue. But all of the best scripts, all of the best movies, all of the best writers, really, really, really good at dialogue. Aaron Sorkin wrote A Few Good Men.
Yeah.
That's why it's such a good movie. It's because it's written by someone who is a master of dialogue. Same with Quentin Tarantino, same with Joss Whedon. These scripts are incredible because these are guys that actually know how to write dialogue. If you have to show because you don't know how to tell, probably not that great of a writer. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's maybe that's going too far, but
Yeah. I think.
certainly not the best writer.
Yeah. Well, it's. Yeah. Well, the show Don't Tell. Also, it's
it's necessary.
also about when someone is like, it's like the what's it called? It's the scene in Star Wars. I don't know which one it is. Attack of the Clones, where Obi-Wan and Anakin are in the elevator, and Anakin's like, "Remember that time we were fighting those guys on Bantha
Yeah.
5? Remember that time we were good friends? Remember that?" And it's like, why don't you show us this cool stuff that you're talking about
That I agree with.
So it's like that's basically what they're saying, like, don't do that.
Well, there's also a difference between dialogue and exposition.
Yes.
In that, like, when you show, don't tell, it should say something. It should say something about the character. It should say something about the story. It should push the story forward. Along those same lines, so should the words that they're saying. Like, I think that a lot of people kind of write those, like, hey, remember the exposition stuff, because they're trying to fill blank space.
Yeah.
and it's like, no, your dialogue is doing the exact same thing that your image is doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to be either good at dialogue or good at,
Yeah.
or hopefully good at both.
Well, I mean, what I would suggest though is that somebody tries to write a 12 Angry Men style
Yeah,
script,
yeah.
because and like
It's a really good exercise.
yes, try and do that, then I would,
Yeah.
I mean, but also like, and I mean, one of the issues I have when I'm writing is that I get very purist about something. So then, so like
Yeah.
I'll write something and then I won't have a character say anything, or I'll write something
Yeah.
and I'll have a character say everything, and and I can't.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to like, find like that balance, because I'm like, I want this to be like this pure thing.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So
but
you almost assign something to a
yeah,
character, and
but
it's like,
Confined, your
yeah,
first movie,
yes,
very little dialogue.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, out of necessity, and
Yeah.
I almost like whenever I go back and rewatch it now, I feel like, man, I wish there was less dialogue.
Isn't that weird? Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah.
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 Um, uh, but it's one character in one location. It's a bottle script. It's
Yeah.
so it's like, who's he talking to?
Yeah.
So yeah, like I feel like maybe 30% of the lines
Yeah.
that he says, I'm like, he didn't need to say that. There's nobody there
Yeah.
to say it to.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it was an interesting experiment.
Yeah.
And I do think that it's a good idea if you're trying to become a writer to write stuff like that, where it's like,
Yeah.
all right, you have one character, go. You're in
Yes.
one location, go.
Yes.
Like you have like these restrictions, go.
Yes.
And they're really good exercises for you to kind of work that writing muscle, because then when you write something where there are zero restrictions, and it's like, well, I'm expecting to have a budget here, and I can structure everything, and I can
Yes.
write whatever I want to. You have so many tools in your box
Yes.
that you could just pull out.
I think, I hate to say it, but I think you always have to put restrictions on yourself. I think
Okay.
you can't go all out. You have to, and it's like it's like with Confined, your character doesn't say a lot, and it's because the character himself wouldn't say a lot. Yeah, he's a stoic kind of character, and there's
right.
and he's a character where a normal person would be like, he doesn't do that. And it's and I think it's jarring for people the first time they're watching it, because they're kind of going like, why is this guy not reacting?
Yeah.
Or why is he reacting the way that he's reacting? And then as the story goes along, you start realizing like, oh, these things we're being told about him actually appear like that's probably true about him.
Yeah, he already knows why he's there.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's funny because like it was actually kind of the criticisms that the movie got, because it was an indie film.
Yeah.
Like there were like critics that kind of felt like, oh, he did this by accident. He did this because he's not like a seasoned filmmaker.
Yeah.
And then they saw the end of the film and was like, oh, okay, no, he didn't do it by accident. But then they didn't retract the fact that they thought it was a mistake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it was a criticism that they had, and it's like, no, like you pointed out the fact that like, oh, there's a reason why he's acting this way.
Yes.
And
yeah,
like,
it was.
what?
It was very intentional.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yes, it was all very intentional. That's okay though. But yeah, I do think I don't know. I mean, I think the drama is for me it would be a more interesting approach with it, to make it a drama and to have it be kind of that A Few Good Men courtroom drama, where people are the lawyers are mad that they're missing Christmas. We're going to miss Christmas if we don't get this thing settled. And the guy is like, I'm not settling.
Yeah.
Like, we're taking it. And they're like, and they know it's the right thing to do, but they almost want to sell their own clients, like, down the river. Just send them down the river so they don't have to miss Christmas. And it's
Yeah.
like, and then the judge is just like pissed, like, so did you come to, did you guys come to an agreement? Like, no, Your Honor, we did not. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we're convening
Yeah.
here tomorrow, 8 o'clock in the morning. Like, I hope this is good. Like, you're gonna get
Yeah.
busted. I'm gonna
Yeah.
kick your butt for this
Yeah.
if you don't have something good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that I think you hit the nail on the head. That's definitely the genre.
Yeah,
you
but
know. Wow. Yeah. Like right out of the gate, courtroom drama.
yeah.
It's a great Christmas movie.
And the thing is,
Um.
and what the guy did is it's Jack Nicholson, and he's a general in Guantanamo Bay. No,
it's
it's
just
just
a
it's
few
a few
good
good
men.
men. A few good men put a Christmas hat on Tom Cruise, and we got a movie here.
um. So the one of the things that they usually do in a Christmas movie is, especially if Santa's involved,
Yeah.
it's modern day.
Mhm.
Um, and we were wondering kind of about the period piece. Doing a period piece with Santa.
Oh yeah.
Doing the which period? What period should it
Yeah.
be? Just kind of like old
Do you,
timey or like
do you go all the way back to was it Roman times that Saint Nicholas lived? Was he in Roman
um,
times?
I mean, probably.
I think it was Roman
I don't know how
times.
far back the actual Saint Nicholas went back.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean,
I don't know if I would
you
do it
can
then though.
set something in like the
Yeah.
Dark Ages or like the medieval times.
Yeah. I
And
think
it's
yeah, I
Santa
mean
movie.
yeah, what do you yeah, like how do you do a period piece Santa Claus movie
Yeah,
if it's during if it's during like the Crusade or something like that,
yeah,
like
yeah,
Santa's trying to get presents to everybody around the
yeah,
world while a war is going on.
yeah.
And then
Oh, that's
and then
actually not a bad
yeah,
story.
and then like the magical spiritual moment is when everyone like basically stops fighting, on
Yeah,
Christmas Day and they actually like get along. Then maybe you could
it could
have
be
more
a
like, and then the next day they just like departed out of the Holy
yeah.
Land. It
That
would be
could be
kind of a rewrite of history a little bit, but
a little bit. Yeah, that could be a brutal movie.
yeah, like
He's
what?
like putting coal in like people's like army like their boots,
Yeah,
like metal night boots. Like, oh, there's coal in my boot.
yeah.
You're a bad soldier. Um, but yeah, no, that would be kind of an interesting. That would be like a brutal kind of a movie. And I
Yeah,
feel like if you were to do that, you'd have to almost do it from Santa's point of view, Santa's perspective, because
yeah,
now it's like he maybe feels the weight of the world on his shoulders, where it's like, it's not going to be a lot of Christmas spirit this year.
yeah.
Like there's a war going on. Um, but like maybe I can do something about it. So it's like it's his journey. It's
Isn't there?
his like trying to come over the obstacles.
There's an actual story though. Is it World War One or World War Two, where
Oh,
I think the two people in the trenches they actually had a ceasefire on Christmas. They just decided like
yeah,
let's stop,
yeah,
and I think they met like in the middle of no man's land and like sang Christmas songs
yeah,
to each other. It could be
yeah,
set then,
yeah,
and it could be like they're fighting and you don't even need to necessarily have Santa in it too much, but you just see Santa going over in his sled,
yeah,
and they're
yeah,
like, "Did you see that?" You know, and then they can yell
yeah,
at the people like across the way, like, "Did you see it?" you know,
yeah.
and the guy's like, "The Santa Claus," they're all trying to mortar Santa Claus's sled. Das bring down the Claus. um, yeah, but that could be the thing that sparks the reason why. I mean, once again, you're rewriting
Yeah.
history in the worst ways possible.
Well, no,
But,
you don't even really have to. Like it does. Like I almost
yeah,
like the idea of it just being a movie about that moment,
yeah,
and the only thing that's fictional about the moment is Santa flying overhead,
yeah, yeah.
and like that's the only time we see Santa. You know, like it doesn't even need to be. It's just a Christmas movie, but it's about
Yeah.
that exact moment, and like everything else we can just kind of keep.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
That's
you could have it even weirder where like in no man's land in the middle it's kind of foggy and you
yeah.
see a guy carrying a sack with the silhouette of Santa walking across. And no and
Gets
like
mowed down.
that's Santa. That's Santa. Just Santa's all matrixing it.
Yeah.
It's his superpowers. But yeah, you could have it set at that historic moment though, and show
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
and you could put a little magical thing in there, you know, where they see Santa, or it looks
Yeah.
like maybe something looks like Santa. The fog looks like kind of Santa for a while, and then like
Yeah.
disappears, and they're like, "What was that?" You know.
Yeah.
And like you can have a guy be like, "Did you see it?" And you can hear like one of the guys yell from like the other trench across the way, like, you know,
Yeah.
was that Santa?
I saw it.
I
Yeah.
saw the Santa.
Yeah, I actually really like that. I wouldn't mind seeing that movie. Like if I saw a trailer for a
Yeah.
movie about that, I might want to watch that. Like that actually sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful moment. It's a beautiful moment in history, and it was saved by Santa.
Yeah. Yeah.
If he wasn't mowed down. But yeah, I don't think you're gonna be able to beat that. I think it was World War One, by the way.
Was it World War One? Well, there was more
But yeah,
trench warfare in World War One, so.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the same day that they like had like friendly boxing matches with each other? I think it was the
I'm not.
same day.
It might have been, yeah.
It was like something
Yeah.
like that, or you know, that was maybe another story where like they ran out of ammo or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, like they had like boxing matches with each other, and just kind of like were joking
Yeah.
around and just screwing around.
I
And
know.
it's like, you know,
Yeah.
spirit of Christmas.
Yeah, you get a group of guys together, they're gonna find something stupid to do. That's you know.
Yeah. Well, I think that those are some good pages. So until next time, I'll see you later, brother.
Better brother.